Raise your hand if your last performance review was just a 15-minute awkward conversation where both people just wanted it to be over.
Oh man, I can practically see the hands going up all over the country right now.
Right. I mean, you're sitting there in a stuffy job trailer, you're drinking stale coffee, and you're just pretending to care about a generic form that, well, it has absolutely nothing to do with what actually happens out on the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. And whether you are an owner managing multiple crews or, a project manager, or even the guy actually swinging the hammer, we all know that feeling.
Oh, for sure.
It's this universally dreaded ritual that somehow manages to just completely drain the energy out of everyone involved.
It really is. And for you listening right now as a construction business owner managing field teams, that dynamic is somehow even worse. It is quite literally every performance review in the trades.
Yeah, it's painful.
Both you and the crew member are just, staring at the clock, checking a box for human resources, and just waiting to get back to the actual work of building something. So today, our mission for this deep dive is incredibly simple, but highly ambitious.
I love a good demolition.
Right. We are going to completely kill the broken corporate HR-style annual review in the construction industry. We are tearing it down to the studs.
Absolutely down to the studs.
And in its place, we're going to build a field-tested system that actually motivates your crews, saves you time, and honestly, most importantly, keeps your best guys from walking off the job to join your competitor across town.
Yeah, it's a necessary demolition. And to guide us through this teardown, I'm your resident construction systems expert, and we are drawing from some incredibly sharp insights featured on the Scaling Legends podcast.
Specifically, the systems originally discussed by Justine and Nicole, right?
Right, exactly, Justine and Nicole. Along with some comprehensive market data that backs up exactly why the old way is failing. And the core philosophy we really have to start with is feedback is only valuable if it actually improves behavior.
Right.
If it does not change how someone frames a wall or manages a subcontractor or, handles a difficult client, it is completely useless.
Just a total waste of time.
Literally.
Yeah.
If you are just doing it to check a compliance box, you're wasting your time. And worse, you're actively frustrating your team.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because before we can pour a new foundation, we kind of have to understand why the old one cracked. Why does the traditional corporate model fail so spectacularly, specifically in the trades?
Well, it's a structural mismatch.
Right. I think about it this way. Reviewing a construction crew annually is it's like trying to correct a bad foundation after the roof is already shingled.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's exactly it.
It is way too late. The damage is already done. The drywall is cracking, and fixing it now is just going to be an absolute nightmare.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. The fundamental flaw here is a massive structural mismatch in how work is actually performed. Like, the annual review was designed for corporate office workers who do the same continuous repeating tasks year-round.
Yeah, sitting at a desk.
Right, but construction work isn't annual. Construction work is entirely project-based. Think about the reality of a busy job site. You sit a foreman down in December for his annual review, and you try to give him constructive criticism on a complex custom framing job that wrapped up back in March.
That was 9 months ago?
Exactly.
He has built 3 other entire buildings since then. He probably doesn't even remember the address of that March job.
And that is the trap. By December, nobody remembers the granular details of that March build. You, as the boss, you can't remember if the delay was because of a genuine supply chain issue with the lumber warping, or if the crew was just dragging their feet on a Friday.
Right, the context is just totally gone.
Completely gone. So the feedback feels entirely arbitrary. The employee gets defensive because they feel unfairly blamed for something they can't even remember.
Which is natural.
Of course. And then the manager gets frustrated because the employee isn't taking ownership. And the whole exercise just devolves into this vague, useless conversation about, needing to communicate better or keeping the site cleaner.
Unactionable noise.
Pure noise.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. If the annual review is dead, we cannot just leave a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does a job site. We need a replacement.
We definitely do.
And the sources we're diving into today lay out a highly practical, time-efficient, 3-pillar system to replace it. This isn't theoretical HR fluff designed by someone who has never worn steel-toed boots. This is built for the mud and the dust of the job site. So let's look at the cadence of this new system, starting with Pillar 1, the weekly 5-minute check-in.
Yeah, this is the absolute heartbeat of the new system. Every single Friday, you do a check-in with your direct reports. But here is the critical mechanism that makes it work. It strictly takes 5 minutes. You do it standing up, and there are absolutely zero shomes to fill out.
No clipboards.
No clipboards, no iPads, no bureaucratic friction. You look your team member in the eye and you ask 2 simple questions. Number 1, what went well this week? Number 2, what could be better next week?
Standing up is the secret ingredient there, right? I mean, the moment you sit down in the plush chairs in the job trailer, a 5-minute check-in organically mutates into a 45-minute complaint session about how the plumbers are always in the way.
You've hit the nail on the head. Standing up keeps it kinetic. It keeps the energy high and the focus narrow. By asking what went well, you are actively building momentum and acknowledging their hard work.
Right.
And by asking what could be better next week, you are immediately pivoting any frustration.
Yeah.
Whether it's about those plumbers or a broken skid steer into a forward-looking solution. It is micro course correction.
I like that. Micro course correction.
Yeah, you are adjusting the steering wheel by a fraction of an inch every Friday, rather than jerking the wheel completely into the ditch at the end of the year.
I love the theory of that, but I have to play devil's advocate here for you, the listener. Because if I'm a busy general contractor and I'm listening to this right now, I'm thinking, wait a minute, sure, on a spreadsheet, that sounds great.
Right.
But have you ever tried getting a stubborn foreman who has been in the trade for 30 years to stop swinging his hammer to talk about what could be better every Friday? I mean, I am already drowning in permits, submittals, and RFIs, those endless requests for information that constantly halt our progress. How do you actually justify forcing this behavior when everyone is already stretched so thin?
It absolutely sounds like a massive administrative burden until you break down the actual math behind it. According to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, a 5-minute weekly check-in only costs 4.3 hours per year per employee. Let me break that down.
Okay, let's hear the math.
5 minutes a week times 52 weeks is 260 minutes. That is roughly 4.3 hours for the entire year.
Wow. Wait, really? When you frame the math like that, 4.3 hours a year is nothing. I mean, you and your crew probably spend 4.3 hours a year just looking for the keys to the telehandler.
Precisely. Now let's contrast that tiny 4.3-hour investment with the alternative. What actually happens when a skilled tradesman feels ignored, unguided, and unappreciated week after week?
They quit.
They quit. And the catastrophic financial cost of losing a skilled employee in today's incredibly tight labor market is roughly 3 to 6 months of their salary. That includes the lost productivity on the current job, the hard costs of recruiting, the downtime, and the slow ramp-up of training a new hire who might not even fit your company culture.
Which is a nightmare.
Totally. What's fascinating here is how leadership consistently miscalculates risk. They falsely perceive the tiny upfront cost of their own time, those 4.3 hours, as a massive burden, while completely ignoring the catastrophic financial crater caused by employee turnover.
That is a harsh but necessary truth to swallow. You either pay the 4.3 hours up front in small increments, or you pay 6 months of salary all at once on the back end. So, okay, we have fixed the weekly communication pulse. But construction projects have distinct finishes.
Right.
How do we capture the macro lessons learned from an entire build? That leads us logically to Pillar 2 project debriefs. Since the work is project-based, our feedback loop has to reflect that. At the end of every single project, you hold a team review. And again, keeping it lean, it is just 15 minutes.
Keep it quick.
Exactly. You ask 2 things. What worked? What would we do differently next time? The goal is to capture just 2 to 3 actionable items.
Right. This is not a laundry list of 20 complaints. It is about finding the highest leverage bottlenecks. Let's say you just finished a custom residential build, and the scheduling overlap between the drywall crew and the interior painters was an absolute disaster.
Oh, that happens all the time.
All the time. The mudders were still sanding while the painters were trying to prep, and it cost you 3 days of pure chaos. In a 15-minute project debrief, you identify that exact bottleneck while the pain of it is still fresh in everyone's mind.
So what's the action item?
The actionable item becomes, on every future build, we require a mandatory 48-hour cure time sign-off before the painters are even allowed to bring their gear on site. Boom, you just solved a recurring problem for every future project permanently.
It turns isolated mistakes into permanent company policy. I really like that. So we have the weekly pulse and we have the post-project wrap-up, but how do you actually measure an employee's overall value when it comes time for a promotion or a raise?
That requires scoring.
Exactly. Which brings us to Pillar 3 quarterly scorecards. Now, I know the word scorecard sounds a little corporate, but the sources emphasize stripping it way down. It is a simple 1 to 5 scoring system, and it only looks at 5 very specific metrics that actually matter on a job site: safety record, quality callbacks, schedule adherence, team feedback, and skill development.
The brilliance of those 5 metrics is that they strip away the emotion and the bias. Notice there is nothing on that scorecard about, having a good attitude. Attitude is completely subjective.
Very subjective.
But quality callbacks, that is objective. And as any owner knows, callbacks murder your profit margins. Remobilizing a crew to fix a mistake costs 10 times what it costs to do it right the first time.
Oh, without a doubt.
So the scorecard asks, did we have to send Jim back to fix the flashing on that roof? Yes or no? Did we stick to the project schedule? Yes or no? Is this new apprentice actually learning how to read blueprints, or are we just paying him to sweep the floor for 6 months? It makes the quarterly compensation conversation incredibly focused and fact-based.
Okay, so we've established a cadence of the system. We have the scheduled weekly check-ins, post-project debriefs, quarterly scorecards, but now we have to tackle the actual human execution.
The hard part.
Exactly. What do you actually say during those 5 minutes? Because giving critical feedback is deeply uncomfortable for a lot of people, even really tough construction bosses.
It is incredibly uncomfortable, which is exactly why the corporate world invented something terrible called the feedback sandwich.
Oh, the feedback sandwich. This is where you cowardly hide the critique you actually need to deliver between 2 fake compliments. Like, hey Jim, I love those new work boots. By the way, your framing on the load-bearing wall is entirely out of plumb and we have to tear the whole thing down. But hey, great job showing up on time today.
It's awful, it's confusing, and our sources are very clear on this. The feedback sandwich is dead, especially in construction.
Tradesmen respect straight shooters. You have to be direct.
Absolutely. The example from the material that really drives this home is perfectly blunt. You say, your framing on the Jones job was excellent. Your cleanup on the Smith job was below our standard. Here is specifically what I need to see next time.
Boom. Clear, concise.
It is respectful precisely because it is clear. There is no guessing about where they stand. And there's another crucial mechanism to making that direct feedback work, and that's timeliness.
Timeliness. Tell me about that.
Well, if a guy is consistently cutting corners on site cleanup, and you wait 6 months to tell him at an annual review, that lazy behavior is already hardwired into his daily routine. But if you address it the same day, the psychological insights we're looking at show that feedback given within 24 hours of an event is 10 times more effective at changing behavior than feedback given 6 months later.
10 times.
10 times. The rule is simple. If you see something, say something that exact day.
Immediate course correction. I like that. But wait, let's think about the reality of the site again. If we are constantly correcting people on the spot, doesn't that run the risk of turning the project manager into just a constant dark cloud of negativity? I mean, if you were just walking around barking at people all day about what they're doing wrong, morale is going to absolutely tank.
That is a very real danger, and it leads us to a critical metric about human psychology and leadership. According to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, the optimal positive to corrective feedback ratio is 5-to-1. You need 5 genuine, specific positive interactions for every 1 piece of corrective feedback.
5-to-1. That feels incredibly high for a tough environment like construction.
It does feel high, but here's the core problem. Most construction leaders have this completely inverted. They are operating at a 1-to-5 ratio the wrong way. 1 generic compliment for every 5 sharp criticisms.
Wow, inverted completely.
And honestly, if you understand the industry, it is not entirely their fault. Think about a superintendent's job. Their entire purpose is to walk a site and look for defects, safety hazards, and schedule delays. Their brain is literally professionally trained to spot what is wrong. Risk mitigation is their job description.
That makes total sense. They are paid to find problems before the inspector does. So when they look at a crew working, they only speak up when they see a problem. Silence means everything is fine.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this 1-to-5 negative loop is exactly why so many highly skilled workers leave companies. They feel like they do fantastic, backbreaking work 95% of the time in total silence. And the only time the boss ever speaks to them is to chew them out over a minor mistake.
That's depressing, honestly.
It is. As a leader, you have to intentionally train yourself to spot the good work and call it out. Hey, that drywall joint is incredibly clean. Hey, thanks for organizing the gang box. It saved us 20 minutes this morning. You are building up a bank account of relational equity so that when you do have to deliver a tough, immediate correction, they listen and respect it instead of getting defensive.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? You are bought in. You realize annual reviews are garbage. You are ready to implement weekly check-ins, project debriefs, and quarterly scorecards. You are ready to ditch the sandwich, be direct, and hit that 5-to-1 positive ratio.
Sounds like a solid plan.
But here is the final massive hurdle. How on earth do you document all of this without hiring an army of human resource administrators? Because as the old saying goes, if it's not documented, it didn't happen.
Right, documentation is usually where great intentions go to die. Field guys hate paperwork more than anything. But the solution the sources provide here is the 1 line per week rule. You keep a simple running note for each person on your crew. Just 1 sentence a week.
Just 1 sentence.
Yeah, March 12th, crushed the concrete pour, stayed late to finish. March 19th, left tools out in the rain. By doing this, when it comes time for that quarterly scorecard or a hard conversation about a raise, you aren't relying on a vague feeling. You suddenly have 52 specific, time-stamped data points.
52 data points. That completely changes the power dynamic of the conversation. You aren't saying, well, I feel like you've been sloppy lately. You are saying on these 3 specific dates, this exact thing happened.
Exactly, it's factual.
But let's be real, even 1 line a week across a crew of 40 guys, that is a lot of notes to keep track of.
Yeah.
We need a system to organize the data, or it's just going to be a bunch of lost sticky notes floating around the cab of a dirty truck.
And this brings us to the technological shift that makes all of this scalable, which Justine and Nicole discussed at length on the Scaling Legends podcast.
Oh, right. They had some great insights there.
They really did. They pointed out that adopting the right tech infrastructure is what bridges the gap between good intentions and actual execution. They specifically highlighted Smart Business Automator. They discussed how it provides the exact framework for tracking these workforce metrics systematically, because it is an AI platform built specifically for the construction industry, designed so you can scale your business without drowning in admin work.
This is huge because the biggest excuse for bad management is always, I don't have time to manage.
Right. And the way you get that time back is by letting AI handle the heavy lifting. Think about what a project manager does all day. They are digging through nested folders to find a specific photo of a rebar installation, or they're spending 2 hours typing up a daily log, or trying to summarize a messy subcontractor meeting.
Just burning hours.
Yes. Justine and Nicole broke down how Smart Business Automator takes all of that off their plate. The mechanism here is brilliant. It features smart document organization. It can actually look at a muddy photo from the field, recognize what it is, and automatically tag, sort, and categorize it alongside plans, permits, and submittals, so teams find what they need instantly.
So instead of hunting through a labyrinth of folders on a server, you just use their smart search, ask for it in natural language, and the AI instantly pulls up the exact file because it understands the context of the project.
Precisely. And it goes deeper. Because it acts as a central brain, it can read long, rambling field reports and turn them into clear daily logs.
Wow, that saves so much time.
It really does. It extracts the key takeaways and action items automatically. It even drafts responses to those RFIs we talked about earlier. By scanning all your past project files, it sees how you answered a similar architectural question 3 months ago and instantly drafts a response for you to review.
That's incredible.
Yeah, by automating the paperwork, you are literally buying back the time your managers desperately need to actually go out into the field, look their crew in the eye, and do those 5-minute weekly check-ins.
That is the crucial link. The tech does not replace the human interaction. The tech handles the robot's work, so the humans finally have the time to be human. And based on what the deep dive on Scaling Legends covered, it goes beyond just organizing files, right? It actually acts as a safeguard for the project timeline itself.
It does. They noted its schedule risk detection capabilities. The AI constantly reviews project activity and compares it against the master schedule to identify possible delays and bottlenecks before they explode into expensive problems.
Which is always the fear.
Always. And because it offers API integrations, it connects directly with your ERPs, your enterprise resource planning software, which is basically the central nervous system handling your accounting and inventory.
So the information moves smoothly between the field teams and the accounting teams without anyone having to do manual error-prone data entry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The result is that leadership gets total, crystal clear visibility into project health. The AI handles the grueling administrative burden, and your project managers actually have the bandwidth to build a phenomenal culture in the field.
It is the ultimate leverage. You are replacing an outdated, broken HR ritual with a highly targeted, continuous feedback loop powered by a system that refuses to let anything fall through the cracks. It's a completely new way to operate your business.
It really is. And this raises an important question, and it's the new thought I want to leave everyone to ponder today. If we successfully automate all this grueling management paperwork and continuous micro-level feedback becomes the absolute norm, what does the construction manager of the year 2035 look like?
That's an interesting question.
Are we rapidly moving toward a world where the most successful managers in the trades aren't necessarily the best builders, but the best psychologists, the ones who master the human element of motivation, while the AI handles the logistics?
Man, that is a wild thought to chew on. It really forces you to reevaluate what skills you are prioritizing when you promote someone from the field to the trailer.
Absolutely.
Building a great crew takes the exact same intentionality, the same blueprints, and the same daily effort as building a great structure. You cannot just throw people on a site and hope for the best, just like you wouldn't pour concrete without setting the forms first.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. If this conversation resonated with you and gave you some tools to improve your business, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Scaling Legends podcast on your preferred platform to hear more from Justine and Nicole. Leave a rating and review to help other contractors in the industry discover the show. Share this deep dive with colleagues or team members who need to hear it. And finally, to see how you can buy back your time and automate the heavy lifting we talked about today, visit smartbusinessautomator.com to learn more.